Okay, so with hypothesis testing,
We can move over if you want.
yeah.
No, we're good. I was just saying it's kind of weird, like almost everyone's over there and we're just
No, if you can see fine, you're fine. Okay. So with hypothesis testing, it is not always just being like, oh, yep, it worked, or no, it didn't work. There's a window sometimes where it's not good enough. It's too close of a call. Like if I said, look, I think that if I was to look at the whole junior class, that their free throw percentage would be above 50%. So let's say I said that, okay? And then I test 10 people in the junior class, and their free throw percentage is 52%. Did I prove it? That if I tested the whole junior class, that I'd be above 50%? No, it's too close of a call there. You see, I can't guarantee that I'd be above it if I kept going with everybody else. If I said equal to or above 50%, then that might be more reasonable, right? But I have to be higher than 50%. It has to be like a large enough extent. We're going to be using a lot of z-scores and t-scores this chapter to make this happen. So what you need to be thinking about the next 2 days while we're doing this hypothesis testing or starting is what you might want to test. You can also ask like a survey question. But what I want you to do is I want you to come up with a hypothesis about our population in our school. And this either can be a hypothesis about a class, like a junior class, senior class, sophomore class, freshman class. You can do the whole school if you want to. You're going to have to get a random sample. I'll get you a list of the class, and then you'll assign everybody a number, find out exactly who you're asking, essentially, or who you're doing this experiment with. You're going to have to get at least 20 data points, and then do the math and prove your point. Or prove that you're wrong. And if you prove that you're wrong, will you get full credit? Yeah, of course. Proving you're wrong is still doing the work, right? Like, and I want your hypothesis to be a close call. So I don't want you to say, I bet that the free throw average of the juniors is higher than 2%. Yeah, I bet so too. I bet someone makes a basket in there and then you got it. You know, like, come on now. Let's try to make it a close call. Okay. There are always 2 hypotheses to consider when you're discussing a statistical hypothesis. The first one is called the null hypothesis.
Can I guess the other one?
Yeah?
Alternatives.
Yes. Where'd you get that?
Down below.
Nice. Good job using your resources.
Thank you.
I got all excited for a second. I thought maybe you were doing this in your science class. There are 2 hypotheses to consider when discussing a statistical hypothesis. There's the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Either of these may be the claim. H sub O represents the null hypothesis. And H sub A represents the alternative hypothesis. And yes, I know that it looks like hoes and ha's.
Can they be similar to P and Q?
No. They are opposites of each other. That's kind of true, but they're not like percentages or anything like that. Okay, so a null hypothesis is a statement that has an equal sign. Or it could have a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to, but it has an equals in some way. The alternative hypothesis is a statement without an equal sign. That means it's either just less than, greater than, or not equal to. If you see the words, the mean is greater than or equal to, that means that H sub O is mu is greater than or equal to a number.
Those are just
It's like a colon.
What does that mean?
H sub O
Is greater than or equal
to a number. I just put a number sign, because, you know, we don't know what I could say, the average, amount of time a senior can run without stopping is 0.75 miles. Okay? That would be an average that I was taking a guess on. If the null hypothesis is greater than or equal to, what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of greater than or equal to? Less than. So if your original hypothesis is greater than or equal to, then your alternative hypothesis is less than that same number. Okay, so now we're gonna put a few more words in this box that are just like keywords to look at. This is greater than or equal to. What else is this called? No, I mean like the inequality symbol. Is this at least or at most? Which one is this?
At least.
If it is greater than or equal to something, is that at least or at most?
At least.
At least.
Oh, I was right. It's gonna, maybe you just didn't hear me, but I was so scared the first second I said at least and like silence. I was like, oh.
Need more confidence.
That was a lot of me.
If you guys ever have a problem with at least or at most, especially when you're looking at a free response exam, because you probably know that when you're looking at free response, your brain freezes up and like seizes sometimes, okay? And if that's the case, think about the ball pit at McDonald's. Okay, so if it says you have to be at least 5 to be in the ball pit, that means 5 or more. And if it says you can be at most 10 if you're in the ball pit, that means 10 or less.
What's the market?
Whoa, the plastic ball pit at like, I don't think they have it at
I don't
McDonald's
think I've ever
anymore.
been in one of those.
They have them like at Chuck E. Cheese.
You said it at McDonald's.
They used to. They used to have like a play place at McDonald's.
I remember the play place. I went there all the time. There's no
Yeah,
ball.
that's because people kept dying in the ball pit, so they stopped having those.
Really?
They ruined it for us.
Yes, because parents are awful. Parents being like, hey, let's put our kid in the ball pit. Sure, they're 1. They'll be fine. It's 3 feet of like plastic balls. Nobody's gonna step on them. Anyway. At least. Also the word not less than. Over here, we've got less than, we've got fewer, and below. Okay, now another possibility is not that it's greater than or equal to, but instead it's less than or equal to. And again, that's the H sub O because it has an equal to. I realize that right now you guys don't really quite know what I'm talking about, but you will in just a little bit. So for right now, copy it down. The opposite of less than or equal to is greater than. Less than or equal to, I'm going to write over here. I'm also going to write at most. And not more than. Over here I've got greater than. Above. And more than. These are key words to help you understand when you see them in a story problem which one we're talking about. Because it's either going to be this pair together, this pair, or the last one. So far we've got greater than or equal to and less than or equal to and greater than. Anybody take a guess what the